Voters in Washington state and Colorado made history on Election Day. The two states became the first in the U.S. to allow those 21 and older to possess up to an ounce of marijuana for recreational use. But while legal on a state level, marijuana is still illegal federally, with violators slapped with strict fines and jail time. And a recent New York Times article suggests the Obama administration is weighing legal action against Washington state and Colorado. Trying to keep the federal government out of these state initiatives is Neil Franklin. Franklin is a former undercover narc police officer and the executive director of LEAP, which stands for Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. At the Justice Department in Washington, he dropped off a letter for Attorney General Eric Holder, urging the federal government to respect the will of the people and to uphold the legalization of marijuana for recreational use in those states.
It's not going to take long to see the results. It's not going to take long to realize how many people are no longer being arrested and saddled with arrest records. It's going to hinder their employment possibilities and education possibilities. That's only going to take a matter of months. And we know how slow government moves. But we know one thing, that the Seattle Police Department has already said we're not going to be arresting people for the possession of marijuana. Those results are already being experienced. So, despite what the Obama administration does, it's going to take a while. And during this time span, we're going to have results. We're going to have information. We're going to have data that clearly shows that this was the right thing to do.
Now, 21 states and Washington, D.C. have laws on the books either decriminalizing marijuana or allowing the sale and use of medical marijuana. Pro-weed legislation is spreading. The latest Gallup poll taken last year showed a record high of 50% of respondents in favor of legalizing marijuana. Also, pro-legalization advocates argue many judicial and law enforcement resources are exhausted in pursuing those possessing marijuana. According to the latest FBI's Uniform Crime Reporting Data Form, 750,000 arrests were related to marijuana possession. That means about half of all drug arrests nationwide are related to the drug. Franklin says legalization would improve the lives of young people, especially Black and Latino males who are often caught in the justice system at a young age.
Right away, you're going to see a serious reduction in arrest of our young Black men. You're going to see a serious reduction in how they are treated and approached by the police in the streets. It's going to create so much of an opportunity for them. No longer will they be saddled with these arrests for marijuana.
But there are arguments against legalization. In a previous interview, The Real News spoke with former senior drug policy advisor in the Obama administration, Kevin Sabet, who says legalization would increase use amongst young people.
The RAND Corporation, which is a nonprofit, profit independent organization that has nothing to do with government, did a major study on the impact of legalization and what would happen in California when they were going for legalization of marijuana, and found that there would be a significant increase in use because of prices would fall. So, I mean, economics 101, drug policy 101, drug prices under legalization fall and use goes up. Youth are especially sensitive to price. So that, you know, and they who do not have a stake in the political or policy game said that would happen.
But Franklin argues legalization would not have such adverse effects on youth, since it would be regulated.
Because it's prohibited, we've given control of it and the distribution of it to organized crime, to disorganized crime, to our local gangs and the cartel. And we literally have an outlet, a distribution point on every street corner in many of our neighborhoods. They don't card our young people to make sure that they're 21 years of age. If they have the money, they can buy it. And that's what we have. That's why we have so much marijuana floating around in our schools today, because our gangs hire, recruit, they pressure young people into the business to sell to other young people in our schools. That's why we have so much access today. Will these new policies of regulation and control, legalization, completely remove marijuana from the hands of our children? No. And it would be foolish to think that that could be. But it would greatly, greatly restrict the access that they currently have.
How to control marijuana under the new measures has yet to be determined. The governors of Washington State and Colorado are still waiting to hear from the federal government.
The voters were pretty clear. So in terms of the state, it's decriminalized. I mean, we will not be prosecuting people on a state law basis. But again, that's the issue, is the federal law. Certainly, our voters want marijuana to be regulated like alcohol. That's what they clearly said. And if the Attorney General of the United States is willing to allow that to happen, and I would certainly, point out the reasons why that makes sense.
The federal government will not only have to face off with voters in Washington and Colorado, but now Maine and Rhode Island will be introducing bills to legalize marijuana. And there are talks of ballot initiatives in California and Oregon in the next major elections. For The Real News, Jessica Devereaux, Washington.